Welcome to Noteworthy. I'm Michelle Jones. Today it is my privilege and honor to have with us the founder of Classic Albums Live, Mr. Craig Martin. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So now, I always start my shows this way. Would you please tell the audience, how do we know each other?
Well, I guess it was 10, 15 years ago. We did our first show together, and I needed a violin player who didn't live in Toronto, who lived in Orlando. And I'm not too sure how we connected or who did it, but you showed up at the gig, and that was it. We've just been friends, and I know we talk a lot about business together, and it's been a wonderful relationship working with you all this time.
Thank you. It's been an honor, believe me. And it was 2005, actually, believe
Wow.
it or not. It was, and the Abbey Road was our very first show together.
Right. I know you. Everybody knows all these details about the shows. I haven't got a clue.
When did you found Classic Albums Live?
2003. I do know that date. And our first show was April 10th in 2003, so it's been 19 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a real ride. For those who don't know what Classic Albums Live is, Classic Albums Live takes classic albums from the 60s and 70s, and we recreate those albums live on stage, note for note, cut for cut, using the world's best musicians. All of our focus is put into the music and exact performances. We don't spend any time on costumes or dancing or flashy lights. We don't talk to the audience. We just stand there and play the music. So consequently, I'll use a big band. If we're doing a Beatles Abbey Road album, I'll hire a string section, a horn section. We'll have somebody playing sitar sometimes, or an orchestra. Whatever it takes on the album, whatever it takes to recreate that album, I'll go to a great length to do. So started in 2003. And that was our first show. By 2004, September, we were doing shows here in Orlando. So it's been 19 years of 12 shows a month here in Orlando alone. So, man, this is home away from home.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for joining us here in Orlando today.
Absolutely.
I do appreciate that. Well, we know that that's your job, which is also part of your passion. But we as musicians, we understand that we have to have other outlets. What do you do besides Classic Albums Live?
Well, I do yoga, which is nice. I enjoy doing like this Jimi Hendrix yoga, they call it. Put on some like groovy music and just move to it and stretch and things like that. I really enjoy that. I cook a lot, which is one of the nice things that come out of the pandemic is I think that everyone's cooking skills have gone up a notch. You know, my son and I went for McDonald's a couple weeks ago, and we were blown away by how salty it was because we've been cooking so much at home. And we're, oh, wow, it kind of hurts your mouth. We ate it all, but still. And I paint. I do a lot of painting. That's been one thing that's really come out of this pandemic. Is I was in a relationship right at the very beginning of the pandemic. We parted ways, and her parting words to me were, make art every day. So I really took that instruction to heart, and I've been doing that. And I've gone online and been able to Instagram is a powerful, powerful tool. I'm 59, a little late in the game to discover it. So when I finally got online, I started networking with all these artists from all over North America. And then it started expanding. Hong Kong, Venezuela, there's people in Spain England, all over the world that I'm connecting with on Instagram. We're all sharing our art and talking about that. And that has been such a great joy in my life, is we read so much about social media and how it's destroying us, and I actually think the opposite. I believe that social media is enriching our lives and making our connections more profound. And sure, we go to the shopping market, we see everybody on their devices and things like that, but you can also go to the parks still, and people are in parks, and soon they'll be back. People are out there getting involved with each other despite the phones, because of the phones sometimes. So I've really found social media a great tool to help me through some of the quieter times during this pandemic.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you about that, where you're able to now reach people all around the world that you may or may not have ever met. And have you ever met anyone online and said, we need to get together in real life?
Yeah, girls. I've met a couple.
Dear.
I've met a couple women online, and
Okay.
we did that, but not through a dating site. Again, through the through my Instagram. You know, they were artists as well, and you know, we would go out for a walk or have a coffee and hang out. You know, that's pretty cool. I'm going to go to Venezuela. There's this cat in Venezuela. He's a painter. He has a similar aesthetic to what I do. And I think we're using the translator. It shows up in English, and it's a little ragged sometimes, his responses, and I imagine mine are to him. But he's like, come to Venezuela. We'll paint, we'll walk, you know, I'll show you a good time. And I'm like, yeah. You know, I would never go to Venezuela prior to this. Wasn't even on the list. But now I just want to go down and hang with this guy for an afternoon, you know, drink wine, look at art, make art, whatever. I think that's a great reason for a trip. So, and there's these other kids in Hong Kong, this collective, and we're very involved online as well. And they create some really forward-thinking pieces. And again, I just want to go there and spend a day with them. It's a reason for a trip for me. So I think that's what the future holds in store for me.
So you want to connect with real people, of course. I think we all do as human nature. We have to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, during the last year, it's been a lot of disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least in the disconnect in person. But thankfully, we have had the ability to connect still virtually and still online and through the different outlets as well, which is, I think, helped a lot of us. Unfortunately, some people have taken it to another place, which I don't appreciate when there's the trollers. And
Oh, that's my vast
Yeah.
majority, the overwhelming vast majority of people are good and decent and caring, and they post positive things. It's the squeaky wheel gets a lot of the oil online sometimes, that flaming kind of contrary opinion. I have no time for any of that, and most of us don't. The news outlets like to report on that stuff, but you know, whatever, who cares? At the end of the day, I want to know what you're having for breakfast and share a recipe or something like that. You know what I mean? Silly things.
I love that. Okay, so you mentioned your son. What is his name?
Oh, my son's name is Jackson, and he just turned 17, and he's a terrible student, just the worst student ever. I mean, he was just like me. Get 50s and 60s, you know, summer school, always the threat of summer school because you're falling behind. I was exactly where he was, but he's very emotionally intelligent. And this is kind of bridging a conversation that I was hesitant to talk about with anybody previously, but I think because you and I have known each other for so long, and, you know, I've always really appreciated your career, how you've forged the forward, always looking forward, always going forward. I really find that inspiring. And I'm very similar, as we know, and I think our talks have really illuminated that. But so I find you very empathetic as well. So I have another son who passed, and he was 18 years old, and this happened about 4 years ago. And he had a very rare and aggressive cancer. His name was Lucas. And you know, I know a lot of people have suffered a lot, and that's part of the life's condition. But I do want to say to people, like, from my experience, just it goes against nature and to lose a child. And you know, we all lament when our folks pass or when they're older. That's kind of like the natural order of things. But I know that some people have suffered some similar profound losses in their lives, and I understand how that rewires you and how you think differently. And the one thing that I say is, first of all, you go through life with a suit of armor now. Like, there's nothing that can affect you. There's literally nothing that will upset you or get you rattled or anything like that. You've gone as, the only thing that gets through is love. And that's pretty good. So I call it the little gifts that he left behind. And I feel that life has, you know, I certainly have my days where, you know, you wake up and it's on your mind and it weighs very heavy. But there's also a lot of joy and beauty in that as well, which is almost, you can't articulate how that is. So, I mean, I made a video to help me through that. Back then I wasn't painting, but I was trying to figure out a way to express my sense of sorrow and and my sense of hope, like I run a company, I've got 100 musicians, I've got a family, I'm a father to a son, you know, his mother and I are still very close, you know, I like being at the bottom of the totem pole and holding everybody up. I'm very comfortable there. So I was kind of doing something, not selfishly, but something that would help you find my way. Now, for other people, it could be yoga or cooking or, you know, sewing. People do amazing things. People have incredible hobbies. You know, Troy built a deck. It was great. It was great. Whatever it takes. For me, it was making this, writing this piece of music. It's 7 movements. And then I had my friend Nicole Rose come in and sing on it. And she's like, well, you're halfway done. I'm like, what are you talking? We're done. I'm going to mix this. This is good. She goes, no, you need a visual. So I was thinking about that. So it was another year of just going out and shooting visuals. And, you know, I'm not really a filmmaker or a cameraman, but, you know, the iPhones are incredible. So I took a bunch of footage, like a lot of footage, and then I spent the next year editing it down. So, and I found that there's beauty in long blank spaces, especially when it's a 15-minute piece. So I made this movie, and I call it The Gospel According to Luke. And it's my way of celebrating my son's life, and my way of kind of showing people that you can get through life despite these horrible events that have happened, that there's still light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak.
It's beautiful. So music was one of your healing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it is for everybody, right?
I would certainly hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. You know, we did a show on Friday night at the Hard Rock, and we did the Dark Side of the Moon album with Classic Albums Live. And the emails I got afterwards from people, like, so heartfelt and so emotional, saying, thank you for doing this. And, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic, like yourself, I said, I'm going to power through this. I'm going to figure out a way that we can stay relevant and keep us all connected as best we can. So I started running concerts off my front lawn. I saw in New York they were banging pots and pans every night to show love for the frontline workers. So, you know, I dragged Jack out and the two of us be standing there banging our pots and pans. And then it progressed to me once a week having concerts on my front lawn.
On Wednesday nights.
On Wednesday nights, right? It was a duo, you know, usually. And then we started, well, we could probably fit Rick Vature's drum kit on the front steps. So then next thing you know, we're running like almost full bands. And then luckily in Toronto, we're an hour and a half, 2 hours away from another city called Belleville, Ontario. My friend Mark Rashad runs this beautiful theater there. He outfitted his theater with, you know, 9 different cameras and a crew and the whole bit. And we traveled there and we were able to stream shows on the internet. And that was amazing. You know, we followed protocols. We were like a military surgical operation. We got in there and, you know, we got these shows done. It was fantastic. And we did 25 shows. We're doing another one this Wednesday. And we're streaming, and the musicians are working. But the most beautiful thing about that was I took down the paywall. You know, I said, people my age, we don't like to type and fill in forms and things like that. So I said, you could donate. If you feel like donating, donate. And so many people did. It was amazing. It made you feel good. Now, they're not big money makers, of course, because, you know, but a couple of bucks here and there. And some people don't have money. So we were very clear, and if you can't afford it, like, save your money. We'll make it through, right? And but so many people did donate, and so many people from Florida. This state has been the most gracious host for Classic Albums Live. This state of Florida there's such beautiful people here all across America. I always say there's 2 types of Americas. There's the ones we see on TV, and then there's the one we experience when we come down here and visit with everybody. And that's the one I like.
Well, that's the real one.
That's the real one.
Because you definitely have quite a fan base in the United States, all across the United States, and of course Canada. You own that country. Mm-hmm. You really
do. Yeah, I'm the #1 employer of musicians in Canada right now, yes. And I'm getting up there in the States too. I'll tell you. I mean, I'm not going to be Disney size or anything like that, but certainly it feels great to keep musicians working.
And as one of the musicians, we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Especially this year, we're very grateful that
it's a big circle of thanks, you know, the musicians and the company. You know, it's nice the way that it just kind of continues to evolve and move forward and stay relevant and add purpose to people's lives. And a couple bucks, come on, come on.
I'm with you on that. So especially right now with everything still slowly coming back. But do you see things coming back? Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel, if I may say?
I see a different light at the end of the tunnel. I think that, the same way that the MP3 and Napster upset the music business, this pandemic has been the Napster of life. And I'm not too sure what's going to happen. People are calling it the Roaring '20s are awaiting. I'm not sure that's going to happen either. I don't really speculate on that. All I do is hang on, wake up every morning and hit the ground running. I hope that we get back to live music. I think live music will be one of the things that does survive. I can't see us going back to theaters in a rush anytime soon. I see people cooking more. I mean, there'll certainly be an initial surge of people going out and going to restaurants and that, but after a while they're going to say, well, I can cook at home. I enjoy my own cooking. I miss that, as a matter of fact. So I think everything's up for grabs, but we'll find our way. The young people will pioneer new ground for us, and they're going to reshape and change everything, rightfully so.
I agree.
But thank you for having me here today.
I'm very grateful that you said yes. Thank you for bringing everything in, including opening up about something that most people are hesitant to speak about, which is grief in your life, especially when it's something so tragic. I mention this again only because when we come back from the break, we're actually going to show part of that video that you created. You created the video, you wrote the music, you did it as a celebration of Lucas's life, the gospel according to Luke. We'll see some of that when we come back after these messages. Welcome back to Noteworthy. So Craig, you were telling us that there's a video that we're about to watch here. Remind us again why you wrote that.
I wrote this piece of music for the memory of my son, Lucas, who passed from a very rare and aggressive cancer. And I had to figure out a way through my life. This was certainly a tool to help me get through. And I wrote it as an inspiration, hoping to inspire other people to figure out whatever it is. Some people garden, like I said, we do all kinds of different things. I wrote it so that people can hopefully be inspired to do something themselves to help them through the grief and the sadness.
We're going to watch some of that now.
See the light, reach for the new, go the fight.
your son at the end?
Yes. Yeah, he was a real tripper. He used to go on these 50-day canoe trips. And my other son, Jackson, still goes on them. As a matter of fact, last year I was so pleased because last summer camp was canceled and him and 5 other friends arranged this canoe trip just themselves. 16-year-old boys out on a lake with no running water and no lodging for a few weeks. What could go wrong? Nothing went wrong. They were amazing. When he came back, I asked Jackson what his favorite parties. He started talking about the sunrises. They used to like to get up in the morning and watch the sunrises. I always thought that they'd be talking, we were partying, going on this. So I really think that was, again, an honorable way to respect my son's legacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was nice.
And you were mentioning, while we were watching it, you were telling me that all of these visuals all had a special meaning to your connection.
I was very deliberate with all of the visuals. Like I said, I'm not a filmmaker, but I find that, great art comes when you're selfish and you do it for yourself, you put your own desires and wants and needs into the whatever it is you're doing, whether it's playing, but that's how the good stuff comes out.
And I agree with you, because that's how we get to the true personality and to the realness of everything, which is why I'm so happy that you were here today, and you were very real.
Thanks, Michelle.
And I appreciate that very much.
It's easy to talk to you.
Well, I'm pleased. Thank you. I'm very flattered by
Right
that.
on.
Thank you. Well, if you would like to see the entire video, we will have a link embedded when we put this up online to the YouTube link, but you can also find it as The Gospel According to Luke. You can also find Classic Albums Live at classicalbumslive.com. I always like to call it Classical Bums Live.
Classical Bums Live.
Live, yes, they do. Classical bums do live. You could always find that. And then, of course, to find you as an artist, is it under Craig Martin Artist?
On Instagram, yeah, Craig Martin Artist.
I thought so. Because I think that you should definitely reach out to Craig and talk about his art as well.
Talk about your art. I want to see your art.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I like sharing it with other people. Yeah, it's good.
Definitely. Yeah. It is a mutual thing when you're creating, because a lot of times with art you're creating on your own, and so when you're getting to share it with other people, and that's where I love about performing. It's one thing to be in practice rooms and practice for hours, but when we get to share that moment together,
you double your pleasure.
Oh, it's enhanced more than we could discuss by any means. Well, Craig, thank you for joining us today. We do appreciate you being here and on Noteworthy. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.